Hi guys, so I thought I'd just make a little video here. It seemed like in first period a lot of students were confused about making this background. A lot of kids did it incorrectly, so I thought that I should get on here and make it a little bit more clear for you guys to help you understand. So I'm going to skip the whole part where you make the sphere and you turn the circles into spheres with the contour lines, because I think most of you had a pretty good understanding of that, and I'm just going to move straight on to the web. With the web, we're using the same types of contour lines, so we're using smiley face shaped contour lines and sad face shaped contour lines is a good way to think about it. So if you hear me say that, I'm talking about like these type are like smiley face, and these type that go this direction are like sad face contour lines. I guess it'd be up here. Okay, so you're going to divide your paper into 8 sections, as you've probably already done. Okay, diagonally and then down the middle. Okay, it doesn't matter as much if you line it up on the corners, but you must make sure that you have all of them intersecting in the middle. You don't want, I guess, you don't want something like this with this big hole here. That is a no-go. That's going to cause problems for you down the line. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just pick a section. So I'm picking a section, I'm working from the middle outward, and we're using our contour lines. We're not going to use too many because that's going to confuse us. So we're going to use no more than 5, okay? 5 maximum. So I'm going to start here at the middle always, and I'm just going to do a sad face contour line to start. Also, I'm going to go ahead and use a pencil first, because that way if I make a mistake, then I can correct it. Okay? So we're just going to do sort of these little N shapes. I'm going to do 5 of them. And when I go to go off the page, I'm not going to force it to fit. Okay, I'm not going to force it to fit like that. I'm going to just pretend that it went right off the page. Okay, so I'm going to follow my line. Oh, it's going off the page. I'm going to continue it where it would have came back onto the page. That's been really confusing for some kids. Okay, I'll show you that again. So I'm going to go ahead and outline this so it's a little easier to see. You're definitely going to wait to outline this until it's all done and you've checked in with your sub or with me via Google Meet or whoever you need to talk to. You need to make sure that everything is drafted in pencil correctly before you start outlining. Same thing with the sphere. You need to make sure it's drafted 100% correctly in pencil before you start outlining. Okay, so we got this here. Now we're going to go next door. We're going to do the exact opposite thing. We're always lining up our lines with this particular project. We're not just doing random stripes going in between. Everything is related to each other. So, for the final product to look more three-dimensional, that's the purpose of this project, is to turn a two-dimensional piece into something that looks three-dimensional. Okay, so we're going to do the opposite of what we did here. We did N shapes or sad face shapes here. Okay, we're going to do smiley face shapes here. And we're going to line up our lines and make those smiley face shaped contour lines. I kind of went a little far on that one. Again, that's why we use a pencil. Okay. Go ahead and fill those in. Okay, when we get next door, we're going to do the opposite. Okay, so here we have sad face or smiley face lines. So in the next one, we're going to do sad faces lines. It's a pattern and we have to alternate. In this little section, there's the sphere in the way. We're going to just continue along, even draw into it if you have to with your pencil, like you would if it wasn't there. Okay, stopping where you would. Same thing here. Notice how I draw all the way. I just do that to keep my place, make sure I continue with the right shape. Okay, now this one kind of goes off, so I'm gonna be a little bit of a cheater and I'm gonna stop it there just so I can place my line. I guess I'll do this on this back side here. So when I say you're not going to try to squeeze it in, you're not going to try to squeeze your line in so it'll fit. That's the #1 mistake kids make with this project. Okay, we're not going to try to squeeze the line in. We're just going to let it go right off the page. So if it starts and it goes off the page, it goes off the page. At this point, you can write on the table and just clean it off at the end of the day with the Clorox wipe if that helps you do this correctly, okay? Don't try to squish it into the paper. Just go right off the page and then meet back on the page where you would have left off. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and outline. Obviously, when we have our marker, we're going to stop at the obstruction, okay? The sphere's right there. We're not going to draw into that. We're moving on to the next one, okay? It's all a little pattern relationship here. So we have our sad face contour lines, okay? So the next one is going to be smiley face contour lines. Again, we have our sphere in the way, so we're going to kind of trace where we were. Okay, here's the sad face. So the smiley face would begin here, and it kind of go like that. Same thing here. We're just going to draw right into it with our pencil. That's why I use a pencil first. So it ends about here. Then our smiley face goes in like that. This really helps you find the right spot, and this really helps add to the aesthetic of your piece. Make sure everything is correct. Okay, and then we go. We got a tiny bit going on here, falls off the page, never comes back, okay? Next one, we've got our smiley face line here, so we're gonna go ahead and make our sad face contour line here. This one's a little bit easier. That one will go like this. This one might come around like this. You can use your imagination. Sometimes once you kind of get it, okay? It gets confusing if you try to move too fast with a permanent marker before you get it. That's why you need to draft in pencil until you know it's right, and then you can move on. Okay, we're moving all along very sequentially here. We're not jumping around for the reason being that we need to maintain the relationship of the pattern. Okay, so now the next part, we're going to go ahead and do our smiley face, opposite of what we did next to it. Easy one, we don't have any obstructions. Opposite the next one, sad face. Go right off the page, come back on, okay? Now, here's the crucial part. We're going to meet our lines, okay? And fill that in. See how we go just right off the page, which you are welcome to do as long as you clean up after yourself. Helps to make our contour lines nice and dramatic, really curvy. That adds to the way it looks. And then here at the bottom, I forgot about this part, so we're gonna just follow the same shape. So these are all sad faces. So we're gonna fill in that little sad face. These are all happy faces, so we're gonna fill in that little happy face. And then these are sad faces too. Okay, from here is where your pattern starts, where you need to use colored pencil. And we're going to be using any array of colors. It doesn't matter how many you use. The important thing is that you color using those same contour lines that we've been experimenting with, and the middle needs to be a lighter sort of tint of the color. So a lighter shade is achieved with colored pencil by pressing a little bit lighter. So we're just going to start here. We're going to start in the middle, move out just like we did when we were drafting it, okay? And we're going to work in these same contour shaped lines. If we do straight lines, it doesn't look right. It looks flat. That's why we're using contour lines the entire time. Okay, we're kind of leaving the middle alone to give that optical illusion of a lighter sort of tint or a highlight, so it looks like it is like bowed out, sort of like forming something more three-dimensional. Okay, then we'll move up here, following the shape of our line, so we're kind of mimicking the shape of the lines below and above. Making sure we're pressing a lot harder on the outside, easing up on our pressure as we move inward. It's kind of hard for kids to kind of understand this movement some kids. So one thing that I think helps is if you imagine you're kind of drawing eyelashes. It's a shape of kind of like a eyelashes if you're drawing eyelashes on an eye. Okay, we're going to move up here. Lots of pressure because we're at an edge, and we're really not going to see much of that pressure decrease because it falls off the page. Okay, move on to this one, and this is where it gets tricky. We have to alternate in a checkerboard formation just like we did with the spheres. So since we started with green here at our first one, we're going to skip this first one, and we're going to move right here. I think this is where a lot of people mess up. Again, following the shape of the contour lines above and below, easing up our pressure as we go towards the middle. Okay. Then we're going to skip, go here. So you're alternating each time. Lots of pressure on the edges, maintaining that shape of the contour lines. Easing up our pressure as we get towards the middle. And as a final product, it's going to look kind of three-dimensional, like it's popping out. It'll look like it's popping out in the areas that you have shaded, and that it's going sort of inward in the areas that you leave alone. So I'm going to do one more section for you guys, and then for time's sake, I'm going to let you go off on your own. This is a small section, little tiny, high pressure contour lines, making sure to leave the middle alone, give that optical illusion. Now we got to make sure we skip one. We go up here, lots of pressure, contour lines, little eyelashes. Okay, filling in where we kind of skipped, coming over, following the shape of our contour lines, lots of pressure, easing up towards the middle. Up here, we're going to mostly just have high pressure lines since we don't see the part of the section where we ease up on our pressure. And you're going to go kind of in a pattern like that. So you'll end up alternating each time. As long as you start in the middle, you won't mess up. Just make sure you're starting in the middle and that you know what you're doing before you start putting permanent marks down. Be very mindful and careful as you're working, okay?